Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dadsigner Podcast. I'm Michael Smith, your host, and today I am joined by Heinrich Ferreira. Heinrich, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Um, so why don't you tell folks a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and a bit about your family?
Yeah. So I am South African. I left South Africa to go live in the Madeira Islands around age 10. Grew up there, went to school there. Didn't know the language at first when I got there, so chucked in the deep end, had to learn Portuguese. Wonderful place to grow up. Nothing ever happened really, and everyone knew everyone, which was good or bad, I don't know. And then around 17, coming up to 18, we all moved to the UK, and I have been here ever since, around 24 years now.
And tell us a little bit about your family.
So I have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. Thomas is the eldest. He's turning 16 this year. Lydia is 14. Ruben is 11, and Lois is 8. All biological.
Awesome. Nice. 16, well, almost 16 down to 8. It's a good spread.
It is. It's challenging.
Oh, I'm sure. And and so tell us a little bit about the type of design work that you do.
So my background is in graphic design. That's where I started with. And then as my career kind of progressed, I moved into web design as well. I've kind of sat on the fence between the two as a digital designer for a long period of time. But since going solo and meeting up with certain people within the industry, I've kind of fallen back in love with print again. So over the last year or so, locally where I live in Somerset, I've been selling myself as a graphic designer because I've noticed there are just a lot of web designers around here and not enough graphic designers. So you'd stand out somehow, which works.
Nice. Very cool. And one of the things that you had shared with me was you have collaborated with Richard Baird on a few issues of the Logo Archive zine. Now, my familiarity with Logo Archive is predominantly like social media based images that they'll share of either logo designers and their like 9 best logos or like all of these A logos. I didn't even realize there was a zine. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I met Richard quite a long time ago now, and how I got in touch with him is that he ran a short series called Design Survival many years ago now, where he would ask seasoned designers to give new designers coming into the field some, pro tips basically. So I contributed, and we kind of just formed a friendship from there. I helped him a lot on his website, and then it got to a point where his website branding, packaging, and opinion was going to really take off. And he then started to design a magazine. He did the first issue himself. I had a look at it and said, oh, look, you can do a few things here and there to kind of improve the layout a bit. And then when I found out he was using Illustrator to do the magazine layout, I was like, oh no, what are you doing? You need to be using, InDesign or something. Because having worked at a large college before, and doing 200-page prospectuses, you've got to do that in the proper software. Otherwise, it's a nightmare. So the next 2 issues, issues 2 and 3, I kind of helped with the layouts, get that set up for him, and then kind of went from there, and then he did the rest.
Nice. And how many did he end up doing?
Oh, I think about 10, more than 10, possibly. He's gotten so busy doing his fingers in so many pies, it's hard to keep up.
Yeah. And where did he distribute these?
They were on his website, I think. I'm not sure where else he put them, but yeah, that's where you could buy them.
Got it. That's cool. And then have you stayed in touch with him lately or no? Not really.
I've not spoken to him for a little while. He's done a heck of a lot. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it. He's launched quite a few things recently, so not been in touch for a little while. So I need to reach out to him again and say hi.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, and you said before we hit record, you had mentioned to me that you worked at a university for a number of years. and
The college.
ta- what's that? Oh,
The college
college.
over here, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
University and college are different
yeah, it's
things.
different. College there with you is university, I think, and it's not the same here.
Yeah,
You go to
yeah,
college, yeah, then go to university.
yeah, yeah. And so you were there for a number of years, doing web and brand design work, right? Yeah. Um, and yeah, share a little bit about that experience and how that kind of prepared you for what was next.
Yeah, so I got in there as a junior. So there was a junior design role that was advertised, and I applied for it. I was fortunate to get that. I worked there for about 10 years before I left. And so during my time there, I was able to shadow the senior who was there. Over time, then became the second senior designer there. And yeah, it was a huge learning experience. I got to work on quite a few really interesting projects, you know, branding new buildings, the doing huge external signage, on a massive scale, which is new. A lot of learning experiences, but then at the same time, because of the environment, um, you tended to do the same stuff year in, year out, over and over, and there wasn't a huge amount of flexibility. And that kind of led me down to doing freelance work kind of out of hours, just to mix things up and keep things interesting. And again, just learn additional skills.
Mhm. Yeah. And then you were able to kind of lean back on that when you were ready to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. And at that point, you moved the family to the south side of London, if I'm not
To the southwest. So we were living in the
southwest.
southeast, which was outer London, and we moved to the southwest of England.
And how did that go for the family, the kids, all that kind of stuff?
They were still young enough not to have a huge impact on them. They were still quite little, so it wasn't a huge impact on their lives as if they were already 18 or 17 and having to leave loads of friends behind. For all intents and purposes, they've known Somerset more as their home than where we used to live.
Yeah. And is there family in that area?
Yes, that was part of the reason we came this way, because, you know, I was going solo, so we could have moved anywhere in the country. But my wife's parents live just 20 minutes down the road. So it kind of made sense to come this way to be nearer to them, and live here.
Nice, nice. And are the kids um in the public school system there, or are you guys homeschool? What's the
They are in public school, yeah. We
got it?
contemplated homeschooling, but it's it, it's a really difficult situation to choose one or the other. And I think the UK is not as well set up or geared towards homeschooling like the US is. I think from friends I've spoken to, you're kind of almost seen as a bit of an outcast, strange person homeschooling here a little bit still. There's a bit of a stigma attached to it still, I think, compared to
Yeah,
anywhere else.
yeah. And when you ended up moving there, you had mentioned that this is the first time that you were remote.
Mm.
Um, how did that impact your not just your work life, but also your family life?
Yeah, so it was different straight away to have to work from home to begin with. So we used one of the bedrooms in the house as my office, and that was interesting because the amount of times you'd be in a meeting and a child would just barge in and go, "Oh no, I need this," and like, "No, I'm busy. Get out, please." Um, but then also having to learn and kind of navigate the virtual office environment essentially, was quite strange at first. And I mean, now having done it for a while and co-working with loads of other people, it's normal. But yeah, at first it's really strange, really weird.
Yeah, yeah. And did the kids enjoy the fact that you're home, or what was your commute like before when you were in the office?
Oh well, I didn't have much of a commute, so I was quite fortunate. I had to like bike ride 10 minutes down the road,
Oh,
which is
nice,
great.
nice. Yeah,
But I had a lot of friends who had to commute, like over an hour away. So I was fortunate in that sense, and then go from 10 minutes to nothing.
yeah, yeah. Um, that's really great. As you've gone out on your own, what has been like the biggest aha moment you've had in working with clients, getting new clients, all that kind of stuff?
I think the biggest thing for me has been that my time is actually my own now. Um, when you're working in an office environment, you're always under the pressure to have to be doing something constantly, even though there might not be something to do. Always looking busy. Otherwise, you feel that you're not pulling your weight. Um, and having people look over your shoulder all the time, or your manager usually, and having kind of control of your schedule is just a little mind blowing at first. Like, hang on a minute, I don't have to get up at 9 and do anything if I don't have to, And it's been a huge game changer, really, when you finally get your head around that and go, actually, well, if I need to go do something else this morning with the kids or there's something going on at school, I can just make up the time afterwards. And I think when you have clients who work with freelancers like us, they have an understanding that, well, as long as the job gets done, it doesn't really matter when you're doing it. As long as the deadline is hit, it's irrelevant where you're fitting it into your schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you find that freedom is refreshing, or do you sometimes realize, oh no, I do still have to get things done?
It is refreshing. It is, So if I want to go for a bike ride in the morning, it's great. I can do that, come back, and then do work. But at the same time, I'll be honest, there have been the times where, do you know what? I think I'll just not do any work for several hours. And actually, then you realize a few hours later, actually, yeah, I should have been working instead. Now I've got to crunch and do something really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's one of the biggest things that um I recognized in the type of turnaround times that I promise clients is
Mm,
that I could wait to deliver it at the last moment to maximize my time. But in between those, 48 hours, other things might roll in. So if
yeah,
I push
exactly.
something off, all of a sudden I'm pushing everything that potentially could come in off as well. So now I just try to knock it out as it comes in so that there's
Yeah,
nothing
yeah,
lingering.
exactly. And that's happened too often as well. You think you've got time. Oh, I've got time to do it. And actually, you said other things come in, which actually are almost more important because they're massively, urgent for the client who's paying you a lot of money. And you go, oh dear, okay. Now I'm up until midnight, which didn't intend to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Or something's bigger than you originally anticipated. You're like, oh yeah, I
Yeah,
can knock that out in an hour. And you're like, oh, this is going to take 4 or 5.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's more things like that you learn. Then over time you can, as the job comes in, you go, actually, yeah, with experience, having done it for a while, you go, yeah, that's going to take me that long. It's fine. I can leave it without you looking too much at it, just because you've done it so many times already. But yeah, at first it can be quite crazy. Time management.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge aspect when people have asked about going out freelance. It's like, how's your time management? Can
Mm,
you run a business? Because those are the two things that, like, I know you can design, but
yeah,
those two pieces are the kind of the softer skills of or being out on your
yeah. I think that was the other huge learning curve going solo is the fact that no one tells you that you've got to make time to do your work, make time to find new work, make time to do all the admin, all the invoicing, chasing payments. The list is endless. Filing your taxes, doing your taxes, you know, you end up doing so much. And I'm fortunate that my wife does all the finances. She's a clear that side of things for me, so I can focus on all the other stuff. But even then, a lot of the admin tasks are such a time suck, which you don't know about until you actually get into it.
right, right, and you really have to promote yourself, which
Mm.
for some folks is uncomfortable.
Yes, I think you're right. And I think a lot of designers tend to be more introverted, at least all the ones I've met. Um, I'm I'm the other extreme. I'm happy to talk to anyone. And it's become worse since I've moved to Somerset. Living in the southeast of England, people tend to keep to themselves and not talk. You can be on the commute with the same people for 10 years and not know them. Where when we moved this way, the person at the supermarket checkout will be talking to me and I'll look at them and go, I don't know you. Why are you talking to me? It was really strange at first. And now my wife knows why I'm late everywhere because I'm stopping talking to everyone. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, that is funny. For your kids, I'm curious as specifically like, the almost 16-year-old, the 14-year-old, like, are they starting to develop their own taste and interests, and what do those look like?
Yeah, they definitely are. Thomas went through this phase of listening to a lot of hip hop, and then literally almost overnight, that music taste changed completely to something totally opposite. And then the way they dress and what they do, he at the moment is complete health fanatic, exercising and watching what he eats and calorie intakes. He makes me look bad. It's like for eating a donut. And my daughter Lydia, she dances at a ballet school locally, but she dances I think 9 times a week. It's something ridiculous, and she makes me look really bad because even though I exercise, I think she's far stronger than I am.
That's wild. Yeah, I don't think I realize our younger is in gymnastics, and just the amount of body control that's required for dance or gymnastics is all muscular.
Yeah.
They're so strong.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, when I think all 4 of mine have extracurricular in the afternoon, so being solo allows me time to ferry them here and there in between stuff, which if I was in a normal 9 to 5 would be almost impossible, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure your wife's grateful for that.
She is, and actually, she also now is working from home.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've got her around as well, which with is that's good or bad. I know, another distraction.
Yeah. Have you altered your work, or does your work schedule alter based on the time of year, kids' school schedule, things like that, or are you pretty much able to get in a solid 8 hours?
My mornings tend to be my kind of real work hours. So between, well, let's say 9 to probably 2 o'clock ish, when I've got no real interruptions. 3 p.m. over here in the UK is when schools kind of file out. And then there are some days where literally that's it. I can't actually do any more work from 3 p.m. because of X, Y, and Z going on with this child, that child, ferry here, there, everywhere. Then I know on that particular day, 3 p.m. onwards, it's just wiped out. So if I've got to then catch up in the evening, I'll do that. But yeah, I try and stick to my schedule because I know that that period of time I've got over there between 9 and 2:30 is blocked out. And I've got no interruptions as such, really. So I have to do that, otherwise nothing will get done.
Yeah. Yeah. And the extracurriculars for the kids, are they at the school or uh outside?
Outside, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
so my eldest is in a football club. You call it soccer over there in the US. Only you call it soccer. And then my Lydia does her dancing. My Ruben does swimming, and then Lois does dancing as well at the same school.
Nice. Yeah. Yes, we do call it soccer, but I much prefer watching English football than American football. Although right now the team that I follow is plummeting from the top of the English Premier League, so not thrilled about that. Uh, then again, they were not expected to be at the top, so it was a shock that they were at the top. But now that they're not anymore, I'm upset, which doesn't make sense, but it is what it is.
Okay.
Do you have a team that you follow?
I used to follow Man United throughout my whole childhood, and then I just stopped following it, the Premier League, for a while. I don't know what happened, but since my son started playing football again, the interest is there again. And actually, when he plays his games on a Sunday afternoon, I'm generally the linesman, so I'm running up and down doing that job.
Nice.
Which is kind of my way of being part of what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the team in southwest or southwest of London?
There's a few, isn't there?
There's probably like 100.
Chelsea, Tottenham, West Ham. I mean,
What's the one that's closest to you?
my closest professional team is probably who is it? I guess it'd be the league just below the Premier League, so Bristol City.
Okay.
Which is League One, it's called possibly. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on
that. Yeah. uh, we currently in America, the you probably know about this, but like the big TV show, Rob Mulaney and why is his name coming first? Because the other name is much bigger. There's another famous actor. They bought Wrexham.
But that's it, Wrexham. That's in Wales. Yeah,
Yes, and they've
Don't
now
worry.
they've been promoted three
Yeah,
years in a row. Uh,
Ryan
which just
Reynolds.
what's that?
Ryan
Ryan
Reynolds.
Reynolds. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh. Um, it begins to make you question how much money has to play with how quickly someone can get
It
promoted.
does. It does. I think when you look at the players, just kind of off topic quickly on football here, all the really successful teams generally have huge, huge pockets, and you just buy their best players and off you go.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is a shame because really, I think what you want is homegrown talent and moving that up. But then, does that make for exciting football to watch? I don't know. It's a balance, isn't it?
yeah. These complex systems that are not
Yeah.
solvable with simple podcast conversations.
We can try.
Oh, I'd rather not. Yeah. Sometimes when we have these conversations, I have no idea where they're going to go. But as you've been raising your kids, what has been one of the things that you've been tried to be intentional about in fostering the things that they're interested in? Other than carting them around, you said, you've been playing linesman for your son's football team, but what are the other things that you do to kind of foster their interests, whether it be creative or not?
So I think what we've tried to do, and obviously we're trying to split our time four ways, and that alone is quite difficult to do. It's hard enough for one or two kids. So another two in the mix. And we always find that when you're spending that one-on-one time with that child, they really, really enjoy that. For example, my youngest loves going on bike rides. So my wife and I try and do that one thing with them that they really enjoy doing. Take that one child out, go and do that for an afternoon or a couple of hours or whatever that may be, just so you can have those conversations that you need to have with them, or it gives them that time to open up with you about stuff which they wouldn't really do when all the others are around. Because when you've got so many kids around the house, they're all vying for your attention, and it's quite noisy, and you can't always have those quiet conversations you need to have with them sometimes. So it's making time for them. It doesn't always happen, you know, because life gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's trying to be intentional, as you say, to make sure you try and do something with them, even if it's taking them down the village for half an hour to buy them a milkshake or something that they enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good one. My wife and I had talked about. We have two daughters, so
Mm.
we have talked about and have yet to do it, but alternate weeks, or maybe it's like the second Wednesday of each month, alternating taking, like I take the older daughter, she'll take the younger daughter out and
Mm.
do a thing and then swap, and we
Yeah,
still have yet to incorporate it. So maybe this summer we'll actually do it.
yeah, that's a great idea, and I think that's quite important because then it allows you to essentially get to know your child a bit better on a
Mm-hmm.
one-to-one. Because what you will find when you do that is that you'll discover new things about them which you haven't, because of when everyone else is around them, this particular thing won't come out, and
Yeah,
when you're alone with them.
yeah, yeah, and it's different than you know driving a kid solo to practice or a birthday party or something like that. That intentional time doing something that they like. I love that. Well, I say this to a lot of guests, but these conversations really do go quickly. And if you've been a long time listener, I've gotten to this point in all of the previous episodes and have asked the same two questions. The other day I was taking a shower and I decided I wanted to change them. And today is that day. And so historically, I have asked, what has been your greatest parenting success and what has been your greatest parenting failure? But the new questions are, what has been your greatest parenting joy and what has been a big learning in your parenting journey? So you're the first time guest answering these questions. I did let them know ahead of time.
Okay, so my biggest parenting joy. Wow. I think it's been, I probably think being able to have 4 children to begin with, to be honest. We've had friends who've been able to conceive, unable to conceive. And sometimes that's quite painful when you know that, you know, you've been able to have literally 4 kids so easily. Um, and that's through no fault of our own. It's just biologically, we've just been able to do that fairly easily. Some people can, some people can't. So, the gift of these 4 kids has been amazing. And as difficult as it may be sometimes raising them, because each age group comes a different challenge. And for anyone listening who hasn't got teenagers yet, it doesn't get any easier. uh, but it's rewarding at the same time. It really is. Um, so don't give up. um, and your second question again?
What has been your biggest learning as a parent?
Biggest learning? I'd say it's time to make time for your kids. I have unfortunately seen friends who have not put in time with their kids and essentially watch their relationships deteriorate completely. And you know, it's hard work being a parent, working. There's a lot of stresses involved, but any amount of time you can make to spend with your kids, no matter what it is, on a one-on-one, just do it, because you're sowing small seeds of that relationship building, which over time builds up, and that means that they'll come to know you on a different level.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so good. Um, I love that. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing about, um, yeah, your work, your family life. If folks wanted to connect with you online or find your work, where can they go to do that?
They can go to my website, silva-co.uk. So it's SILVA -co.uk. And there should be some stuff there to look at.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.